Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. I hope your morning is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. I suggest it's probably going a little bit better than mine is, because this is about the 15th attempt I've had of starting this show today, and I keep stumbling over my words, getting it wrong, having a bit of a nightmare this morning. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this one actually pans out and works out, and I can get through it. It is, like I said, of course, the morning after Arsenal's 1-1 draw with Manchester United yesterday at Old Trafford. This is the Monday review show, so we'll go over that game, look at the big talking points. I'll give my thoughts on what went on. We'll look at what Mikel Arteta had to say after the game. Look at that angry reaction from him in his post-match interview. Look at what some of you guys have had to say. I'll run through my player ratings as well. It is Champions League week, of course. Tomorrow there is a big day at London Colney. We've got the press conference, got open training, so we'll save the sort of preview for PSV until then. Today's all going to be about yesterday's match, and I mean, it was a largely disappointing result and a disappointing performance from Arsenal. It was very much a game of two halves. Arsenal absolutely dominated the first half. I thought United were really, really poor in the first half, and a good team, a good attacking team, puts United away. Unfortunately, Arsenal just don't know how to do that, really, at the moment. It's certainly in the Premier League. Anyway, we had a ray of light in the Champions League in midweek, but it was kind of reverting back to type yesterday at Old Trafford. Lots of possession, dominating territory, neat and tidy, but when it got to being in and around the penalty area, just did not have the quality to get through what was a really poor United team that was there for the taking. As I said, they prodded, they probed, they moved the ball around. But, aside from Mikel Merino's shot after about 10 minutes, which he put just past the post, I think that had that been on target, it probably goes in. I don't think David Raya is saving it. There was a few little passes over the top from Odegaard that Trossard or Rice just didn't quite get onto. And had they been able to bring it down, maybe they'd have got a shot away and tested Onana. But it just wasn't quite happening for Arsenal. United was sitting deep. They were in this low block. Ruben Amorim spoke about it afterwards. I think teams... I know teams know how to set up to frustrate Arsenal. And everyone's doing it because they know. You can look at previous evidence that Arsenal struggle against teams who play like the way Manchester United played in that first half yesterday. Yes, they'll have lots of the ball. Yes, they'll dominate territory. But are they really going to prize you open? Evidence suggests not. And that's how United played. They did it very, very well when they were waiting for a sort of moment on the breakaway. And they got that just before half time. And a long ball, sort of Calafiori couldn't win it. Trossard trips. I can't remember who it was he brought down. Gives away a free kick. Bruno steps up with a moment of magic. Yes, it was poor from Raya. I thought the positioning wasn't great. He left himself too much work to do. I didn't think the wall was great in terms of the positioning where it was set up. Obviously, it was set up too far away as well. That came to light afterwards. Sky measuring it about 11.2 yards away. And Bruno took full advantage. Lovely finish from him. Great hit. But I think David Raya is going to be disappointed in that. And then all your good work you've done in that first half, counts for nothing really, because you didn't score, you didn't take advantage of it, you didn't really look like you were going to take advantage of it, and then bang, you're going into half-time 1-0 down, and then you got a bit of a mountain to climb. United are not a very good side, but if they're leading 1-0 at half-time at Old Trafford, you're going to struggle to come back from that. Arsenal did get themselves back level. Lovely goal from Declan Rice, who was fantastic on the day. Brilliant strike from him. But before that, they easily could have been out of the game. Had David Raya not made that brilliant save from Mazawari, made another good one from Joshua Zirkzee. One of those goes in, and there's no way Arsenal are coming back and scoring 2 goals in that game. So they're indebted to the goalkeeper to staying in it. And, that allowed Rice to score the goal. And it was a lovely goal from Declan Rice. Brilliant hit. He was great on the day. Good play from Timber to set him up. And a great strike from Rice. But Arsenal could have gone on and lost it after the game. Again, David Raya obviously digging him out of a hole with that brilliant sort of late double stop to keep out first Bruno's shot and then scramble up and claw away the bouncing ball before someone could scramble it over the line. Yes, Arsenal had chances themselves at the other end to potentially nick it. Trossard put one wide. Odegaard had his shot saved before Martinelli put the follow-up over. Martinelli was obviously offside. That wouldn't have counted if he'd have scored. But on the whole, it was a largely disappointing result and a very sort of familiar result and familiar performance from what we're seeing of Arsenal, certainly of late anyway, in the Premier League. You sort of look at how that second half unfolded, and I think because Arsenal had something to try and chase, it was more open. I have to admit, I was surprised at how the second half just didn't. The first half, as much as it wasn't fun, and it was there was a familiarity to it as the fact it was kind of an Arsenal performance. They were dominating, they were camped around the Manchester United penalty area. I thought the second half was sloppy, although they created some stuff and they got themselves an equaliser. The chances they gave up at the other end was really, really sloppy. It was just a strange game all round. I was disappointed because I did expect more. I think the PSV game in midweek, the goals, it was a big sort of morale booster after a couple of disappointing performances in the Premier League. And I really expected them to take that into the United game and show a little bit more than they did. But it just never really got going. And, all the talks about the number 9, I get that. And look, Mourinho didn't have a great day yesterday. He worked hard. He's going to always do that, but he didn't have a great game. I think when you're playing a midfielder in that forward role, that's going to happen. Occasionally it might work out. He might score. He might have a good game, but largely he's not going to really make much of an impact. And that's going to be the case between now and the end of the season if he continues to play there. But I don't think it's just as simple as a number 9. I think there's much wider issues to Arsenal's attacking issues and the creativity and how they play and how quickly they move the ball. And I think this season, that teams are wising up to them or have wised up to them. Amorim did it yesterday. He admitted it afterwards. He said, we don't always want to play this football, but that's the sort of football we played yesterday in this low block because we're coming up against an Arsenal team who we know we can frustrate doing that, and teams do it. And it's not just a case of Arsenal struggling against United. They struggled throughout the majority of the season. Occasionally they're going to score a lot of goals and they come in gluts when it comes to Arsenal. But the amount of times this season they've scored no goals or they've scored one goal in a game. There's just a consistent theme to it, and it is a struggle, and it is a big job for Arsenal to fix. Yes, the attack has not been great. It's been decimated by injuries. We know that. But there's definitely some wider issues that Arsenal have to really sort out in the summer. It's going to be difficult end to the season. I mean, the title's obviously gone. I don't understand why people are still sort of trying to put questions about the title into this, because everyone knows there is no title race. Liverpool champions. It's done and dusted. It has been for a long time. Even before what happened on the pitch, it was done when Arsenal got injuries. They were never going to be able to catch Liverpool without the players who went down injured. But they very much need to be looking over their shoulder now, because this is 2 points from the last 9 in the Premier League. There's a big group gathering behind them in the sort of from 2nd down to 5th to 6th. And that's where they really need to be focusing now, because if you're not scoring goals, you're not going to be winning games. You're not winning games. You're not picking up points, and teams are going to reel you in. So it's an issue that needs to be fixed very, very quickly. They've got to find a way to win these games and to break these teams down. It was good to have Martinelli back. I saw loads of people having a go at Martinelli again in the comments yesterday, which I just don't really get. It's his first game in a long, long time. And I actually thought it was quite lively when he came on. And it is good to have him back. And that's going to, it's another option for Arsenal. Saka, hopefully, we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. Once he come back, that's going to help. But it's not just about that. It's about what's going on behind them. Again, we'll talk about Martin Odegaard. And I've seen Odegaard coming in for so much stick, which I just don't get. Odegaard seems to become is now the sort of the whipping boy. It kind of moves from player to player around the season. At the moment, it's landed on Odegaard, which I think is really unfair. I have to say, was he brilliant yesterday? No, but in the first half, I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I thought he had a good game in the first half. If anyone was going to do anything, it was going to be Odegaard. He fell away in the second half, no doubt about that. But some of the criticism he's getting, I just think people have got really, really short memory. I just don't, this is Arsenal's double player of the season. Last season, the season before, and he was absolutely fantastic. Has he hit the heights this season? No, he hasn't. He's the first person, I'm sure, to admit that. Well, he has admitted that. He's not been good enough this season. But when you look what's around him at the moment, yesterday, for example, he had 2 wingers who were really off form yesterday. Trossard had a shocker. Nwaneri had a poor game. They were offering nothing. Every time the ball went out to Nwaneri in the first half, the move broke down. He just had, that's going to happen. He's a 17-year-old kid. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. It's inconsistency. That's what comes with playing a 17-year-old and being forced to play with a 17 week in, week out, because you haven't done the business you should have done in transfer windows, and you've left yourselves in that situation because of injuries. So he had 2 wingers really underperforming. He had a central midfielder playing in front of him as a striker. It's very, very hard to be the creative sort of source of the team when that's happening. But I still thought he did more than most to try and make things happen. I don't understand afterwards when I got home why he seemed to be the absolute whipping boy on social media. I don't get it. Do we expect more from him? Does he need to deliver more? Does he need to start contributing more goals and assists? Yes, he undoubtedly does. But I didn't think Martin Odegaard was the main issue for Arsenal yesterday. I think collectively is where the issue is for Arsenal at the moment. It's about everyone has to start doing more to try and score these goals. It was a very even game, but I do think Arsenal were very, very fortunate to come away with a point because of the saves. I mean, you look at that 68% possession for Arsenal at Old Trafford. You've got to do more with that. You have to do more with that. People need to make more. What's so good about the PSV game, and I know they were given more space against PSV, but what was really enjoyable about PSV? There was so much intent about Arsenal to get forward and to get into dangerous areas. 6-7 people in the penalty area. That didn't really happen yesterday. And that was really frustrating for me, watching it from the sidelines. We've got a couple of questions here. Now, this is interesting. If you haven't seen it yet, Arteta stormed out, if you want to say that, if you want to describe it as that, in his post-match Sky press conference. He was asked, it was right at the end of the press, not press conference, it was like the live interview he did afterwards in the tunnel. And it was right at the end of that interview. Obviously, he wanted to get away clearly because after that interview, he has to go and do like 6 or 7 more with other TV companies. Then he has to go and do the press conference. It's a big old job doing all the media stuff after the game for managers. And you could tell he wanted to leave. And then the last 2 questions, one was about the striker, not signing a striker in January. And then the last one was, are you still in the title race? And he just walked out. He wasn't having it. He wanted to leave after the striker question. He was trying to get away. The guy stopped him, said, just one more question. Are you still in the title race? And Arteta just went. Not a great look at all by Arteta, who's clearly frustrated at this point. And a couple of you got in touch. Like you've got Chicken Dipper says, did you see Arteta storming out of the Sky interview? What's your honest opinion? Me, Arteta is embarrassing for doing that. Yes, some of the questions are annoying, answering the same thing week in, week out, but they're doing their job by not buying a striker. He opened the door for the criticism. He walked out when he was asked about the title was over. He won't admit the league is done. It's done. Stop lying to yourself and the players. He knows deep down it's over. It was over when we didn't buy a striker. Afrik Guna says, Mikel Arteta walked out in an interview when asked about striker and title race. Lol, you made your bed, lie in it, suffer. That's the thing. I don't think anyone's got any sympathy for Arteta or for Arsenal in this situation because we all saw it coming. We all said it. And so, yeah, I think my thoughts when I saw that afterwards were immediately from the sort of journalistic side of me, the sort of media side of knowing how it operates. I could tell he was just wanting to get away because he knew how much other stuff he had to do. I didn't look at it as a case he got so angry and just stormed out. I think he was just frustrated at the draw, impatient, knew he had about 5 other interviews to do and then had to get to the press conference. And so he just wanted to leave. But there is very, very little sympathy out there for it because of the situation Arsenal are in, and we as fans are so frustrated by it because we want to see our team winning all the time, and we've all felt like the club haven't done enough in January or the summer to give themselves the best possible chance of winning games. Certainly, when it comes to improving the attack. So, that my honest view of it is, I think he was just frustrated. He was in a rush. He couldn't be bothered, and the frustration got the better of him. I don't think it was a good look. And it's opened himself up to all the sort of headlines you'll get now of Arteta storming out of interview. And I've also got very little sympathy for him or for the club at this point because there's a long way to go. And I just think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this game. I said it after Forest. It felt like for the rest of the season, we're going to kind of see a repeat of this game. And I say it again against United. It's just the whole way home yesterday. It's just like, God, there's still 2 months of this season to go. And it's annoying because I hate coming on here on a Monday morning and just talking like this because it's not fun. It was so much nicer talking after the PSV game. We could all just enjoy ourselves, but you get sort of come crashing back down to earth in the Premier League. Some more of Arteta's comments. He said it's frustrating not to win the game with everything we did, especially in the first half, the first 43, 44 minutes, how we dominated every aspect, full control. We lacked a little bit in the final 15, 20 meters to have more shots, more purpose, more directions. The last pass, the last action. But the game is clearly for us in the direction we wanted. Unfortunately, one long ball, we didn't manage it well, gave away a foul in dangerous area, have to rely on them not to take advantage of the individual quality, and that's a bad bet against Manchester United. They capitalised on that. Second half, we tried to generate momentum, scored a goal. My feeling was they were there. They were really struggling. They couldn't get out, and I feel like we just didn't have the legs to do it. We opened the door for them to maybe win the game. We gave some very unusual balls away, very basic things. Were done really poorly, even though we had some big chances. The reality is David saved us at the end. We could have lost the game. And they could have lost the game. Probably should have lost the game as well. I know there's been a lot of talk about what he said afterwards in the press conference about the free kick and said, you know, again, I don't know. I know how the media operates, obviously, and people saying it was a dig at Bruno. It wasn't a dig at Bruno in my mind. He was being truthful. It was clever from Bruno to sort of, if he did move the ball back and gave themselves more chance to score and get the ball over the top, then fair play to him. I don't think it was really even Bruno doing that. I didn't really see him moving the ball too much. I just think it was a case of bad setup by the referee, Anthony Taylor, moving him too far away. So look, these are the player ratings that I'm going to go through from last night. Just quickly rattle through them. I did do my video after the game from the press box, but I gave Raya an 8. Obviously, he was at fault for the goal. I thought it was poor positioning, but he absolutely made amends in the second half by almost single-handedly keeping Arsenal in the game with some brilliant saves. I gave him an 8. Timber and Saliba, I gave 7s. Gabriel and Calafiori, 6. Partey, 6. Odegaard, 6. Rice, an 8. Trossard, 5. Nwaneri, 5. Marino, 5. I think those scores across the front line tells a story of Arsenal's attack yesterday. It just did not work. And, you know, Nwaneri and Trossard were both so good against PSV, caused them so many problems. Both were on target, but it just didn't happen for the wide men yesterday. I thought they were both really, really struggled, couldn't really get into the game. Nwaneri, the ball just kept bouncing off him. There was a couple of nice moves that he did inside to open up some space, but other than that, it was just a real sort of grind for him out there. Marino couldn't get involved in it really, and Trossard, his end product just was lacking throughout the game. So those are my player ratings. Obviously, Tierney, Martinelli, and Lewis Skelly came on in the second half. I thought Martinelli was quite bright. You know, it's his first game for a long, long time, so that has to be taken into account. His touch wasn't the best at times. You know, that chance which he forced Onana into a save at near post, had his touch been better, he might have had a better shooting opportunity in that one. But on the whole, look, I think it was good to have him back. It was good to have him back, but yeah, he's certainly still got a little bit way to go. Yeah, some questions and comments now from you guys. Who's out at the top? Ollie says it was great to see Martinelli back so soon. Another frustrating Old Trafford trip, but at least we weren't going back into a losing routine. Disappointing to be going into spring with no title challenge. This year hurts more than the other years for obvious reason. Put all our eggs in the Champions League versus Madrid and see what happens. This has got to be the biggest summer in Arsenal history coming up, or we will get used to being a consistent top 4 team for the next few years. So much potential. Love the team, and that's what makes the lack of activity even more frustrating. Yeah, I think we're all going to look back on January and the summer of real regret this season, no doubt about it. I don't know if this is the biggest summer in Arsenal history coming up. I think there's been a lot of big summers in Arsenal history. You know, it's a big summer, no doubt about it, but I'm not sure it's the biggest in history. TGFL London 24 says, I feel so sorry for Odegaard. Has to shoulder the full weight of being the only creative force in the team. For most of the season, as was evident, was out for a few games. Then as soon as he's a bit off and missing Saka, he is taking the brunt of the anger about the attacking side of the team. I praise Arteta and the coaches for making the defensive unit at the side the best in many years, but they are at fault for the lack of creativity and cutting edge this season and last. Still rocking with the coaching team next season. Over to the owners and the director of football now. Bob says, hi, Charles. A couple of weeks ago, you said it's silly to put artificial timescales on Arteta's time at Arsenal. We'll definitely end up with a significantly lower points total compared to last season. Unless we win the Champions League, the season has regressed. So when do we hold the manager accountable? I think we always have to hold the manager accountable. I think he is accountable for this season. You know, it's been a poor season. If Arsenal don't progress in the Champions League, which I have to admit, I don't think they will. They're obviously going to get through against PSV, but I struggle to see them winning against either Madrid side in the next round, given the sort of state they are at the moment and the way they're playing. But and so if they do go out to the Real Madrid, then it's been a really disappointing season, no doubt about it. I think they have regressed. They stood still. You stand still in the Premier League, you're gonna more often than not, you're going to get punished for it. And so I think Arteta is absolutely accountable for it. Does that mean that I think he should go? No. I still think he's got plenty to give here. And if Arsenal end up finishing second, it's still second in the Premier League. Is that something to celebrate? Absolutely not. Is it been a disappointing season? Absolutely, I think it has been. But I also think you have to give some context to that as well, in terms of why Arsenal maybe haven't been anywhere near their best this season. But yeah, the manager's absolutely accountable. So is the club. I think everyone has to take a really long, hard look at themselves at the end of this season and wonder why Arsenal have underperformed in terms of all our expectations. And I think it's a collective issue in terms of what the club did or more importantly, didn't do in the summer and in the window to give themselves the best possible opportunity. But even having said that, I think Arteta is definitely accountable. I think the way the team is playing at the moment, and that's not on him, even with the limited options he's got in attack, is proven to be a big, big issue. And he needs to find a way of getting more from this team and hurting the opposition more than Arsenal are currently doing. A couple more here. Scott says, "Hey Charles, Raya said after the game that Saliba blocked his view from the free kick, and I was thinking it's a free kick. Tell him to move out the way, but he did save us in the second half. I had a chance to go to the game, save a group of United mates travelling from Ireland, but it was my little one's 5th birthday, so the family came first. One of my mates that went goes over once or twice a year, and in the last 20 years has never seen United lose. I thought we were going to break that duck when we equalised, but it wasn't to be. Happy birthday to your 5-year-old Scott. I hope he or she had a very good birthday. And Dave says it was a bit grim overall. We do need a striker, but we also need ideas. Truth is, they were more potent up front, and that's a team in 13th. I agree. The setup for their goal defensively was poor, but him and Rice saved us in the second half. Kind of lucky to get a draw. Agree with you on the free kicks. What is it that free kicks can't sometimes be taken by Rice? I don't get it. Poor performance to me, even though with the injuries, shouldn't be coming away with a draw to a team in 13th. Yeah, I don't understand why Declan Rice is not shooting from free kicks. Why is he not on free kicks? That one in the second half that Odegaard just floated into the wall, which was really frustrating. I think that free kick is probably why everyone was really hating on Odegaard after the game, which again I think is pretty harsh. But he's not. I hate Odegaard over it. It was the same way I hated Ozil on free kicks. I always knew every single Ozil free kick was going to be basically floated into the wall. He scored one, I think, didn't he, against Liverpool? But other than that, every free kick I saw Mesut Ozil take, he just floated softly into the wall. And Odegaard seems to do the exact same thing. Just stand there. I just know what's going to happen when he's over it. I don't get when you've got such a clean ball striker like Rice, technically so good. Why is he not taking free kicks? It really, really drives me mad. Just before I go on Bukayo Saka, this is what Mikel said afterwards yesterday. He said, with Gabby, it was a bit different, the kind of injury that he had. And I think we talked about it last week, that he was much closer than Bukayo. After the international break, let's see where he is. His progress is really good. He's really willing, as you can imagine. So we are positive that in a few weeks, he'll hopefully be back. So yeah, a few weeks still for Bukayo Saka. I think after the international break, that's about a few weeks. Maybe we'll see Saka then, but look, I think you're going to have to ease Bukayo Saka back into action. I don't think we can just put all our eggs in the Saka basket and thinking he is going to be the saviour and the difference maker between now and the end of the season. Look, that's it from me today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It's been a pretty disappointing start to the week, or end to the week, and a pretty disappointing start to the week. I wish I could come in here and sit here on a Monday morning and be a lot more cheery, but yeah, it was a disappointing game, disappointing result. It is what it is. Champions League now to focus on this week. Going to be a strange game, that one against PSV with the tie already over, of course, but we will build up to that. I'm at London Colney tomorrow for the press conference for open training, so we'll see what comes from that. Until then, have a great day. Enjoy the start of your week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.